Thank you for joining us today for the Conform to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. Jay Jones, I'm here with George Mays. It's Text Driven Tuesday. Back in Genesis chapter 18, looking at verses 1 through 15. An interesting, I need to bring my glasses in here.
Yeah.
I thought it was 14 or 15. It's 15. Interesting stop. We're going to check it out. Setting up what will be a very interesting Easter sermon, right?
Yeah.
The way it's playing out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lord willing.
Yeah.
There's no hiccups. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're right in the middle of the Abraham story, if you remember from last week. And you started out with some good reminders, like to think about how wonderful God is.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I find is very helpful, not just when everything is going good, but when things are not going good in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you will, when things aren't going well, maybe you're down, depressed. If you'll stop thinking about yourself and your situation and just start thinking about God and think about all the wonderful attributes of his being, and not just that, of his works and the things, and you just rattled them off, like the lists of things that are great about the world that we live in that don't even have to be great.
Yeah.
They just are.
Mm-hmm.
From seeing, like, we get to see amazing sunsets here in Southwest Oklahoma, mainly because there's so many allergies in the air.
That's right.
Do wonderful things for the colors and beautiful sunsets. First time you see the Rocky Mountains is amazing. You remember the first time you saw the Rocky Mountains? Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Seeing the ocean for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
having good food. Like, there's so many, just, I would say, what is the word I'm looking for? There's an overabundance of wonderful things.
Right. Just common grace that God's given us just because he wants to.
Yeah.
Steak does not have to taste as good as it does, Jay.
Yeah. And it's good, buddy. It's good.
Yeah. I think it was you the first time that you asked the question about why do we have taste buds?
Yeah. Yeah, if evolution is true, all you really need to know is if you put something in your mouth and it's going to kill you. It would make sense that we would evolve that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like, that's bad, that's okay to eat. That's the only parameters you really need.
Right.
But the just absolutely ridiculous amount of ranges of flavors, of goodness.
Yeah.
That's just a glimmer of how wonderful God is.
Mm-hmm.
That he would just bless us with that.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, don't let your time of eating your food, don't just be thankful before you eat and say your prayer, because that's what you do. But while you're eating, you're like, man, God is good.
We've got food nowadays that would kill a 13th century peasant.
You know, you're right, because you ever see there's videos, like these reels of people in England.
Yeah.
And they'll give them like Texas barbecue, and they're like, ugh, what's that?
Yeah.
Ugh, what's that? That looks gross. And then they eat it, and their mind just melts.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is the best food I've ever eaten in my life. Yeah. Biscuits and gravy, they're like, these aren't biscuits. I don't even know what they call them.
Yeah.
What do they call our biscuits?
What do they call?
Because biscuits are cookies.
Biscuits are cookies. Yeah.
For them. They give them biscuits and gravy. Their mind is just blown.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably would. Mind would explode.
Yeah.
Yeah. God's wonderful. That's how you started. We need to be remembering that.
Mm-hmm.
And you said this section goes hand in hand with chapter 19. There's so many parallels.
Yeah.
But before we get into 19 and the judgment of God, 18 really sets us up. And you said there's going to be 4 truths we're introduced. So you broke it up, and today, 1 through 15, we're getting 2 wonderful truths to remember about God. So before we get to the judgment, we're reminded of these wonderful things.
Yeah, 18. If you read 18 and then read 19 and look for the parallels, you'll see Abraham sitting at the door of his tent. Lot is sitting at the entrance to Sodom. They both greet their visitors. They both bow down to them. They both say, "Wash your feet." Hospitality. They both bake bread for them. There's a lot, and it keeps going through 18. There's literary grammatical parallels between 18 and 19. You're supposed to read them together, but 18 is leading us up to that. It's showing us who God is, and then we'll get to the judgment of Sodom. The two main, the two central ideas are that God is powerful and that God is good. Those are the two. But within those two sections, I wanted to highlight some other things.
Yeah.
Also that are there, that are feeding into those two big ideas. So we'll look at four wonderful truths about God.
Okay.
So 2 this week, 2 next week, and then the week after Easter Sunday, we'll hit the story of Sodom.
So last week in 17, we really took a deep look at the covenant and the covenant sign.
Yeah.
And I would, if you didn't listen, go back and check that sermon out. Listen to the podcast. We get into circumcision and we talk about other doctrines related to that, things like how it applies to baptism, stuff like that. So between 17 and 18, we just get, and the Lord appeared to him. Is there any thoughts on timeline?
No. Seems like it's pretty close together. Because in 17, he promises Abraham that by this time next year, Sarah will have a baby. Same promise is given in 18. So there can't be, there's probably not even months. It's probably very close. It would seem that 17 is Yahweh dealing specifically with Abraham. 18 has been suggested. I think it's a good suggestion that this is, even though Yahweh is talking to Abraham, this is actually directed more towards Sarah and inviting her into the promise.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Because in 17, Abraham laughs, 18, Sarah laughs.
Yeah.
And it seems that because in verse 9, they're like, "Where is your wife?" So it's, and she's in the tent. She's not out with the men, but she's listening.
Yeah.
And it seems to be directed at her, even though God's not talking to her. It seems to be more because she has to come into belief also, right? Like she has to actively believe in the promises also. She's part of the covenant people, and as such, God is inviting her to believe these glorious promises. So that seems to be what's going on, addressing Abraham, addressing Sarah.
Yeah, good.
And then we'll jump back into to Lot. So this is also setting us back up for the reintroduction of Lot and Sodom, which again is leading us to 19. So we've got to know where we've been.
Yeah.
Right. The whole, I mean, even though we're covering chapters, multiple chapters, and a lot of stuff has happened, this is still taking us back to 13 and 14 with Lot. And it's setting us up again for Lot and Sodom. And I think this whole section has been a chiasm, and I think 17 has been at the heart of it.
Cool. One other question I kind of had before you read. He set up camp at the Oaks of Mamre. Did I say that right? Mamre.
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 Yeah, I think it's Mamre.
They were these like a spiritual place in the land before he came in?
Well, we saw that in chapter 12. He goes. So this isn't the first time we've seen this. This is like his home base. Like he hits it, he goes somewhere else, he comes back. He goes somewhere, he comes back.
Yeah.
It seems from ancient Near Eastern practice that they would worship at trees.
That's a pretty common pagan practice.
Yeah, that's something that even the Norse people would do.
So it's like he has claimed this spiritual place for Yahweh.
I think so. Yeah. You go back to chapter 12, and he's called by God from Ur of the Chaldeans. He goes into the land, and he goes to where is he? He goes into Canaan. He's at the Oak of Moreh,
Another spiritual place.
which is probably a place that was used for like divination, probably sacrifice. And Yahweh appears to him there and gives him the promise. He builds an altar to Yahweh. Seems like he's like staking his claim there. Then he goes to Bethel. Same thing. He builds an altar there. And then he goes from he goes down into Egypt, comes back, goes to Bethel again, which is the first place where he was, and then him and Lot separate, and Abram goes to the Oaks of Mamre, and he settles there, and he builds an altar.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's going
This
through
is
the land.
third altar.
Third altar, yeah. It seems like he's staking these flags,
Yeah.
as it were,
It
in
is
these places,
interesting.
and he keeps going to these places where there's trees, which probably is where the Canaanites were worshiping idols,
Yeah.
right?
It's like he doesn't have the military might to conquer the land. The land will be conquered eventually.
Yeah.
But it's like he's taking what he can.
Mhm.
So he's taking their spiritual sites and making them places where Yahweh's worshipped.
Yeah, it seems like he's establishing Yahweh worship here in the land.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now that we've talked about that, let's have you read the text and we'll jump in.
All right. 18, verse 1. And Yahweh appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth and said, O Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, while I bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant. So they said, Do as you have said. And Abraham went quickly into the tent to Sarah and said, Quick, 3 seahs of fine flour, knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to a young man who prepared it quickly. Then he took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. They said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, She is in the tent. Yahweh said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. The way of women had ceased to be with Sarah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure? Yahweh said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh and say, Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? At the appointed time I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. He said, No, but you did laugh. And there we go. There we go. And that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah. After a break.
They get up and they leave.
All right. So 2 wonderful truths to remember about God. Number 1, first wonderful truth.
And the reason why I framed it that way is because in verse 14, where it says, is anything too hard for Yahweh? The word for hard or difficult can also be translated as wonderful. And I think that is the way it should be translated. I think it should be translated as wonderful. And that's how it's translated in other places. I read through a bunch of Psalms in the intro, and it's the same word and it's being translated as wonderful.
Yeah.
Throughout the Psalms.
We it's kind of downplayed in English, the way we use wonderful. We just use it for everything.
Yeah.
Full of wonder.
Right.
Like something like a miracle.
Right. Doing the impossible.
Doing the
right?
impossible.
Which is what verse 14 is getting at. Is anything too hard? Is it too full of wonder
Yeah.
that God can't do it?
Yeah.
So I wanted to lean into that wonderful.
Mm.
Like God is wonderful, and there's nothing too wonderful
Yeah,
that he
I
can't
like
do,
I
that he
like
can't
that.
do.
I do. That's good. All right, the first wonderful truth. God takes delight in His covenant people. I like this phrasing because it is a good reminder for people. Like if you're a Christian and you wonder, like, what's God's disposition toward me?
Hmm.
Have you thought? Have you ever stopped to think of how much? I mean, like, I absolutely, and I'm sure you do too. Any good father, earthly father, absolutely delights in his children,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
How much more the great father?
Right.
And you brought that out, and we should think that way. God takes delight in His covenant people.
Hmm.
We're a delight to Him,
Yeah.
not a burden,
Right.
but a delight.
Hmm.
I love that.
And that's not it's not the main point of the chapter, but I, I had to bring it out. It's just so inescapable. Just the details that are here in the first 8 verses are so interesting that show that God likes being with Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's camped out this holy site. He's claimed it, and then he just looks up, and then it's like,
It's noon. It's the heat of the day, so it's around noon.
Yeah.
This is like siesta time. They're not out doing all the manual labor. He's sitting in the door of his tent, just relaxing, and he looks up, and there's 3 men standing there.
yeah, like in the way it's kind of presented, it's like surprise.
Yeah, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing in front of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no indication that. So the question that was posed in almost every commentary that I was looking at is, did Abraham know who these people were?
Mhm.
Did he know who the men were? I think he's probably suspicious because there's no indication that they're like he sees them approaching.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's just chilling out in his tent, and he looks up, and there's 3 guys standing there. He calls one of them Adonai. So he'll know soon enough. Does he know right now? It seems like he's maybe suspicious.
Mm.
Like, I know who these guys. I know who this is.
Mm-hmm.
He's seen Yahweh
Mm-hmm.
already. Like in 15:1,
Mm-hmm.
the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision. Like he sees someone who takes him outside. 17:1, we already talked about that. Yahweh appeared to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's seeing someone,
Right.
right? Maybe he recognizes him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know who you are,
Right.
and then he starts showing hospitality.
Yeah. And you brought that out. But hospitality is a big in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Still is in the Middle East. But he goes overboard.
Oh yeah,
He goes way over the board
yeah.
with his hospitality.
Yeah.
And you said that this is one of the contrasts we see with the next chapter.
Yeah, we're supposed to be comparing and contrasting the hospitality that Abraham shows to these 3 men with the lack of hospitality that Sodom shows to them and that Lot shows to them.
Yeah.
So Abraham, he immediately gets up and starts showing them the cultural hospitality it's still a thing
Mhm.
in the Middle East.
Yeah.
This culture is one of hospitality and honor and shame. They have a shame culture.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been shameful if he would have just sat there and been like, "Hey,
Yeah, it's you want some water?
pass on."
Yeah.
He shows honor to them, and it reflects upon him.
Mm-hmm.
When 2 of these men, and we can talk about who these 3 are, when 2 of them show up to Sodom, no one is going to take them in. Like it's dark, and they're just going to have to stay in the city square because hospitality hasn't been shown to them. And then there's Lot,
Mm-hmm.
and Lot shows them hospitality. He urges them to come home with him, does the same things, gives them food, or gives them water to wash their feet. They're wearing sandals. This would have been to wash the cake dirt off your feet. He bakes bread for them. They have a meal. So you're supposed to see those compare and contrast.
Yeah, it's a big feast.
Mhm.
Tons of flour.
Oh yeah.
Meat.
He I mean, he lifts up his eyes, verse 2. When he sees them, he runs. I don't think we should skip over that. This guy's 99 years old, right? And he runs 3 times. It says quick or quickly. He's not lazy about this. Like he gets to it, right? He goes to Sarah and tells her, quick, 3 seahs of fine flour. 3 seahs is, what did I say? 22 liters, 20 liters. I gotta find where it is. Yeah. It is 20 liters of flour. Now, to put this into perspective, Abigail in 1 Samuel chapter 25, when she brings food to David's army, David's got, 500 men with him, I think, at the time. She only uses 5 seahs. She only uses 2 more than Abraham wants to use here. So that's a lot of bread, right? And then he goes to the herd. He picks a good calf and has a young man prepare that, along with curds. This would have been cheese and milk, and then he sets all of this before them. This is a feast for 3 men. All this bread, a whole calf, cheese, milk, in the heat of the day.
Yeah. I like the detail too that you brought out that Yahweh would have been sitting and waiting.
And that's the point I wanted to make, is that this would have taken time, right? So we could just look at these 8 verses and say, well, Abraham showed hospitality, so we should show hospitality also. This is probably what, or at least one of the passages that Paul's thinking of when he writes Hebrews chapter 13. He says, show hospitality to strangers, because by doing so, many of you have entertained angels unaware. Could have been, he's probably thinking about at least this. I mean, there's other places he could think also, but this is probably one of them. And so we could just say, well, we're supposed to show hospitality, which is true. We are supposed to show hospitality. The Bible encourages us to do that. But if we just focus on what Abraham is doing, we're going to miss what God is doing.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to highlight. I wanted to draw this out. And that brings us to, who are these 3 men? Like, who are they? Well, we're already told in verse 1 that Yahweh appears to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre. So we know that at least one of them is Yahweh. But there have been discussions. There's 3 of them. So, of course, the obvious suggestion is that this is the Trinity. John Selhammer, in his commentary, he says that these 3 are just representative of Yahweh. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. But I think the easiest way to understand it is that one of the men is Yahweh and the other 2 are angels.
That seems to be the natural reading, especially if you keep reading through 18 through 19. It looks like one's Yahweh, 2 are angels. 2 angels go to Sodom. Yahweh stays back, continues to talk to Abraham a little bit more until the time comes for the destruction. Then Yahweh on earth is the second person.
It seems like when he stops talking to Abraham at the end of 18, that he makes his way
and calls down fire.
It seems like Lot encounters him on his way out of Sodom in chapter 19. We have to kind of fill in some of the blanks, because Moses leaves it kind of vague exactly what's going on, but that's kind of how I'm understanding it.
Yeah.
We do see in 18:22 that the two men leave and Yahweh remains with Abraham. Seems like him and Abraham are standing there talking at like a hill overlooking Sodom. In 19, verse 1, it says the 2 angels came to Sodom. So it seems that one is Yahweh and 2 are angels. What's really interesting is that throughout the 15 verses, the pronouns are all over the place. There's 3 men. They show up. Abraham addresses one of them as Adonai, which is a term that's used exclusively for God in the Old Testament. He talks to you, your, there's he, I, but then he'll say things to one to Adonai, and then it says in verse 5, so they said. So it's weird. Verse 9, they said to him, where is Sarah your wife? And then he responds, and then Yahweh speaks. And so it's weird. There's I don't think we can be overly dogmatic about it, but it seems as we keep going that one is Yahweh and the other two are angels.
Mm-hmm.
There's mystery as to how exactly this is playing out, but we do know that Yahweh has visited Abraham.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because he appears, he eats.
Yeah.
Which that raises interesting questions. How do these spiritual beings eat food?
Yeah, I've heard, some people make the claim about angels, like they can't do physical things. Like they're not physical.
Mm-hmm.
They're not part of the physical world. But
that's an argument against our interpretation of Genesis 6, right?
Yeah, it is. That's usually where you hear it. But it looks like they're eating.
Yeah. I mean, there's questions that we don't have answers for. Like what is this? Are they somehow they are physical?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right. It is.
I mean, you preached a sermon years ago, right before the UFO stuff was supposed to come out, right? and
it never really dropped.
Yeah, it never really came out. Any day now, Jay.
Still stringing us
any
along.
Any day now. Talking about they are like angels are spiritual beings in the fact that they're not like us, but they still have some kind of form. Like they still have a body. Like they still can only be in one place at one time. They're not ghosts.
Well, they appear to have interdimensional bodies.
Right.
Like how can an angel slay armies?
Right.
If he's not interacting with the physical in some way.
Yeah.
So we can't just relegate them to the realm of phantasms.
Right.
So there's obviously some way through God's allowance for them to interact with the physical world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're very materialistic.
We are.
So that bothers some people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he stands by them under the tree while they eat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else you would interpret that. Then Abraham brings the bread and the steak and the cheese and the milk, and they eat.
Yeah,
like they're eating the food.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But we don't want to just keep this in a moralistic framework and say, look, Abraham is hospitable. You need to be hospitable too. Like that's a shallow reading, I think, and it misses what is really wonderful about these verses is that this is not fast food. I mean, making cakes, it would have taken time. Killing and preparing a calf, it would have taken time, like to cook this thing. Yahweh sits under the tree and he waits.
Yeah. And so then you kind of bridge this into God fellowshipping with men around meals.
Yeah.
This concept, this idea that we see all through the Bible.
Yeah.
That related to God's covenant people is God having meals with his people.
Yeah, I don't think we should just treat this randomly. Like the meal aspect, I think, is important. I think there is meaning behind that. One of the things I wanted to, that just kind of struck me as I was reading the passage several times is that Yahweh just keeps coming back to Abraham. He and Abraham doesn't deserve this. Abraham's not the one instigating this. Yahweh meets him in Ur of the Chaldeans while he's still an idol worshiper, and then he just keeps coming back. He speaks to him in 13. He speaks to him. I mean, he comes to him in a vision in 15, 17. Here, Over and over and over again, Yahweh comes to Abraham, and in this whole process of Abraham showing him hospitality and preparing a meal for him, Yahweh waits.
Mm.
And so I think that there's a reason why the authors of Chronicles, Isaiah, James, they say Abraham was God's friend.
Yeah.
Right? This is, I mean, this is friendship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not reluctant here. You don't see him like tapping his watch. We got other places to be. He sits under the tree by Abraham's house, and he waits for Abraham to prepare a meal, and then he eats. And think of this not just as a casual lunch. Think of this as a covenant meal,
Mm-hmm.
because in 17 in 15 he's cut the covenant. 17 he has given the sign of the covenant, and now in 18 there's a covenant meal.
Mm-hmm.
And meals are connected with covenants.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac is going to eat with Abimelech in chapter 26 after they make a covenant. The elders of Israel, they'll eat a covenant meal in the presence of Yahweh in Exodus 24.
Yeah, at Sinai.
Yeah, at Sinai, they go up and they behold him, and he doesn't kill them, and they eat. They have a meal. It's not a sack lunch. Like, this is a covenant meal. That's what we're supposed to see. When Israel goes into the Promised Land, they're supposed to go and eat a meal in front of the tabernacle. Deuteronomy 16, 26. They describe what they're supposed to do when they enter the land. They're supposed to bring their food to the entrance of the tabernacle and like have a big party.
Yeah, and there's a stipulation law. It seems like God is all about the feast.
Yeah.
Because he says, like, if you live too far away and you can't bring what's required, sell it, bring the money, and when you get there with the money,
buy whatever you want.
Buy food and strong drink.
Yeah.
And have a feast.
Yeah. Like enjoy a fellowship meal.
Yeah.
With God, right?
Yeah. More feasting.
Isn't that incredible?
It is.
They're just eating in the presence of God. Yeah, but this is and we have to recognize the sequence.
Mm-hmm.
God has entered into a covenant relationship with Abraham, and now he eats with him.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that you don't eat with someone that you're at war with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't sit down with someone who's going to stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You sit down with someone you're at peace with. The reason why God comes to Abraham and he eats this meal at Abraham's house is because they're at peace, and they're at peace through covenant.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is leading us to the covenant meal that Christians eat.
Yeah.
Right. Christians eat a covenant meal every time they celebrate the Lord's Supper.
Yeah, this is the climax of this kind of like biblical theology of feasting.
Yeah. Yeah. We here in chapter 18, God comes and eats at Abraham's table, but through the grace of God in Christ, now sinners are invited to eat at God's table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's called the Lord's Supper.
Right, right.
And it's not our supper, it's the Lord's Supper. We're being invited to his table.
Yeah.
And so when you see Abraham's hospitality, multiply that by infinity.
Yeah.
And you've got the hospitality of God, the sovereign Lord of the universe, inviting sinners to his table to eat. And Abraham makes bread, and there's meat, and there's cheese, and there's milk. In the Lord's Supper, God gives us himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are, in a spiritual sense, feasting on Christ.
Mm-hmm.
God gives us grace. And that's not something for us to take casually.
Yeah.
Like,
and
in this, we should be thinking, God has done something even greater.
And if you think of Jesus' great parable of the wedding feast.
The wedding feast, yeah.
Yeah, he's inviting everyone in the world to
Right.
come to this feast,
Mhm.
and people aren't coming.
Right.
So he says, go out and invite everybody you can find
Uh-huh.
so that the feast can be full.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. God draws near to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think we just kind of shrug at because we just take it for granted. We take for granted the fact that we're sinners and we don't deserve this. We deserve to be excluded. We deserve to be the people of Sodom who are about to get annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
And what does God do for undeserving sinners by his grace through covenant is that he brings them near and he feasts with them.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll feast with Christ in the new heavens and new earth
Yeah.
at the wedding feast of the Lamb. But like that's the ultimate covenant feast, right? And it will last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the God who delights to draw near to his people. He's not a God who is drag kicking and screaming. There's that caricature of God that he's angry in the Old Testament, and then Jesus pacifies him in the New Testament. That Jesus somehow, coaxes his Father to stop being so angry. But that's just not what we see in the Old Testament. We see a God who he keeps coming back to his covenant people over and over and over again. He delights to be with them.
Yeah.
And that's what we see in Genesis 18 is just a foreshadowing of what he does by sending Christ. Like it's God's love that sends Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And through Christ's death and resurrection, now sinners all over the world can draw near.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And God doesn't. He's not like, no, I don't want to be with you guys.
Yeah.
He wants to draw near to his people.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wonderful.
But the question for us is, do we want to draw near to God?
Yeah.
Man, how reluctant can we be when it comes to spending time in the Word, spending time in prayer, our worship service? Are we just going through the motions, like checking off a box, or do we actually delight even a fraction of what God delights to draw near to us?
That's good. So that's the first wonderful truth to remember about God is that God takes delight in his covenant people. What a great reminder. Second wonderful truth is that God shows power through his covenant promises. Now it kind of focus is going to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Sarah?
Where's Sarah, your wife?
Yeah.
How'd you know that? How'd you know her name? Why did you say that name?
I think this is interesting too, just to think about on a cultural level. Like the women aren't going to be involved in the dealings of men,
right?
In the sitting at the table with the men.
Yeah,
talking.
You see that Abraham shows this hospitality by meeting every one of his guest needs. Essentially, this is saying you're welcome here and you're safe here, and any need that you have, I'll provide for you. And because he's the host.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he provides all the food. He provides lodging for them, comfort, and then he stands and waits on them. He's the host, but he's also the waiter. But the women are not invited to this party, right? So Sarah is she's in the tent.
Mm-hmm.
Hagar's in a tent somewhere. Like the women are not, but Sarah is close enough that she can overhear what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he said, where is she at? And he says, surely I'll return to you about this time next year.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing he promised in 17. And Sarah, your wife, will have a son. And she's listening. She's eavesdropping.
Yep.
She hears it.
Standing there at the tent door, the flaps down, but she's probably peeking out to see who are these people.
Yeah.
She hears her name. Who told them my name?
Yeah.
Like now they're starting to get a little bit of an idea of who's come to visit.
He calls the new name.
The new name, yeah.
Yeah, the one that he gave her. And there's
like a week ago.
There's
like, remember this isn't months or years apart. This is very close.
Yeah. So there's little detail. Verse 11, before we get to what Sarah does, reminds us like they're very old now, and the way of the woman is long gone from her.
Yeah. That probably means that she's past menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't go through the menstrual cycle anymore. Like biologically, she can't have children anymore.
Yeah, she's barren.
She was already barren.
Yeah.
But now she's even if she wasn't barren, she's past the childbearing
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, so she laughs to herself.
That's important. She
Yeah.
laughs to herself.
Yeah, not even that she laughs out loud,
Yeah,
right?
she's not laughing out loud. She's in the tent. She overhears what they're saying, and she, in her head, she's like, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, yeah. She laughs to herself. She says, I am worn out, and my Lord is old.
Mm. Yeah. So
Pretty funny.
so three things there. She's worn out. This is a phrase that's used of like old clothes that's worn out and has holes in it, right? Not a lot of self-esteem going on here. But she is 89 years old. I mean, this happens to all of us. She says, "My Lord is old," which is really funny to me because Peter, in 1 Peter chapter 3, he alludes to this passage when he's teaching women how they should respect their husband, and he says, even Sarah called Abraham Lord. He didn't quote the rest of the of the passage. My Lord is old. I thought that I just think that's funny. It's a funny place for him because I don't think she calls him Lord anywhere else. I think it's here that she calls him Lord.
Did you know you could buy a little tiny piece of land, I think, in Scotland, and everyone would then have to call you Lord.
Call me Lord.
Yeah. Lord Mays. Now preaching today, Lord Mays.
Yeah. Yeah. She's still showing respect. Like this is not her, Abraham, you're so old. It's just reality. The reality is that he's 99 years old. He's old, right? But she still calls him Lord.
Yeah.
So she still shows him respect, even as she's just stating the fact that he's old. And then, shall I have pleasure? And that's that could be taken in one of two ways. One could be, shall I have after I'm worn out, my Lord is old. Shall I have the pleasure of being a mother? Or it could just be a baser question. Can we even have the sexual relations that are necessary to produce a child?
Yeah.
Right? Because they're both old. So it could be one of those. But she's put it all together. She is just incredulous that this could possibly happen.
Yeah. Sets up the big question, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She laughs. And so then God says to Abraham, why did she laugh? And say this, shall I indeed bear a child now that I'm old?
Which is in itself shocking. He knows her thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't do this out loud. She's in the tent. She's not in the immediate conversation. But God, because he's God, he knows what she did.
Yeah.
And what she's questioning. So now both of them should know who this is. If they still were just suspicious but weren't quite sure, now this is irrefutable evidence. This is God. He knows what you're thinking.
And that sets up verse 14, which is kind of the key.
Which is the question. Yeah, this is the central verse to these first 15 verses. Verse 14 is the heart of it.
Is anything too hard or is anything too wonderful for God?
Yeah. Is anything too extraordinary? Is anything too amazing?
Right.
Is anything too wonderful for Yahweh?
Yeah. Is it too hard or wonderful for God to give a child to people
right
that are physically incapable?
Yeah. This is nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing for God. Like, think of all the things that God has done in Genesis already. I mean, anytime people, like atheists are saying, well, that could never happen. People don't rise from the dead, Jay.
Yeah.
Don't you know how stupid that is?
Yeah.
It's like, well, let me tell you other things that we believe God has done.
Right.
And raising someone from the dead is actually not that hard for a God who speaks everything into existence out of nothing.
Right.
Creation ex nihilo. The flood. He rescues Noah from the flood. Confuses the languages at the Tower of Babel. He gives victory to Abraham with 300 men
Mhm.
over this giant killing army.
Yeah.
Is anything too hard for God?
Yeah.
Is there something that God can't do?
Once you accept that God spoke the universe into being
Yeah,
e-
out of nothing.
out
He
of
didn't,
nothing.
He didn't take existing material and form it into something. There was nothing, which we can't even really fathom what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
He
We-
speaks, and everything comes into existence.
Yeah. We speak. It's like we identify things and concepts and categories, and our speech is only commentary. But when God speaks, it creates and decrees reality,
Right.
the word.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, a resurrection.
Yeah.
I mean, it is meant to be drastic. People don't rise from the dead, but the God who creates through the power of his word
Yeah.
can surely raise someone from the dead.
Right. And that's what this promise is anticipating. Paul says in Romans chapter 4 that Abraham's believing in the God who gives life to the dead and calls into existence the things that do not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a barren womb. There's nothing. She is past childbearing years. There's not even an egg to fertilize. How are they going to have children? Well, the God who called everything out of nothing, he can give life from the dead. He can give life to a dead womb.
He's going to reactivate their reproductive systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
'Cause
anything
this
too hard for God?
Yeah, this is a big miracle.
Right.
It's setting up a bigger one to come. I think there is a biblical theology of feasting with God,
Uh-huh.
there is also a biblical theology of
Children.
miracle
Yeah,
births.
Miracle births, yeah.
That kind of are building to a climax.
It's I mean, it's so clear in Genesis.
Mm.
You've got Abraham and Sarah. You've got Isaac and Rebekah. You've got Jacob and Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of these women struggle to have children.
Mm-hmm.
And God gives them miraculous births. And then we keep going. We have Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we had Samson's parents. And then we keep going into the New Testament,
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
is where the connection between Genesis 18 comes into the New Testament.
Yeah. So nothing is too wonderful for God.
Yeah.
And this is the point. God delights in doing the impossible. You said that.
Is anything too hard for God? The answer is no. Nothing is too hard for God. But we don't want to just stop there. It would seem, as we're reading through the text, that God actually delights in doing the impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why he likes doing it this way, because he didn't have to do it this way. He didn't have to do this with Abraham and Sarah. He didn't have to. I mean, how many years have been between chapter 12 and chapter 18? Decades.
Hmm.
He didn't have to do that. He could have called Abraham out of Ur of the Chaldeans. They could have come into the promised land, and he could have given them a child immediately.
Yeah.
Right. While Sarah was still older, but still, it's within the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like God delights in doing this because he wants to delight his people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wants to cause them to laugh. That could be one of the reasons why he does chastise her. Like, he says, he asks, why did she laugh? And then she denies it because she's afraid.
Yeah.
And he says, no, but you did laugh. But then he tells them to call their son Isaac, which means laughter. And this theme of laughter is going to follow through Genesis for a little while. And it's almost as if God wants them to laugh,
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't want them to laugh in unbelief. He wants them to laugh in delight.
They probably were laughing in delight when he was born.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think of
He changes their unbelief into a laughter of celebration.
think of the magic that happens after you've waited 9 months,
Right.
and your baby comes. It's
Mhm.
just pure joy and smiles and laughter.
Yeah.
Imagine you've waited this long.
Yeah.
It's now physically impossible. God overcomes the impossible, gives you the gift of a child.
Mhm.
Imagine the joy,
Yeah.
the delight
Yeah.
that they would have experienced.
Yeah. So he wants to demonstrate his power through this seemingly impossible situation, but he also wants his people to delight in it.
Mm.
He wants them to be overjoyed
Mm-hmm.
with this. And the place that I went to show this is Psalm 126, which another seemingly impossible situation was Israel being carried away in the captivity in Babylon. How are they ever going to come back? They are exiles. They do not have the power to overthrow Babylon and come back on their own.
Right.
And it just seems like this is a hopeless situation.
Right.
But then the Babylonians are overthrown by the Persians, and one of Cyrus's first acts as king is to set them free,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go back. And hey,
Mhm.
I'll even provide the materials, and they come back. And so Psalm 126, it says, when Yahweh restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. It's so fantastical that they think that they're living in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, Yahweh has done great things for them. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are glad. God wants that.
Mm.
He's not just, he doesn't want you to go through life just gloomy and downcast and sad and hopeless. He wants you to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants you to laugh, not in your I mean, your circumstances aren't always going to be laughter-filled circumstances, but he wants you to be delighted in the impossibilities that he makes possible.
Mm-hmm.
He delights in our delight. And I mean, going back to being parents.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your favorite thing on Christmas? Opening presents yourself?
No, not anymore.
Yeah. It's watching your kids open presents
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the delight on their faces,
Right.
right? Seeing the joy that they have in the gifts that you give them.
Yeah. Thinking about my two kids, two oldest, they got married. And I'd say like the happiest days coming back from Iraq felt like a dream. Getting married feels like a dream.
Yeah.
But also watching your kids get married,
Mm.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would be.
Yeah.
But it is.
Mm.
It's dreamlike.
Yeah.
It's just filled with delight
Right.
and joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And-
wonderful.
And God loves to do that.
Mm.
But chapter 18 is just a foretaste of something else,
Mm-hmm.
because this question, is anything too hard for Yahweh, is actually picked up
Mm.
in Luke chapter 1.
Yeah.
Gabriel comes to this virgin girl named Mary and says, you're going to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks an even more reasonable question, I think, than even Sarah and Abraham. How am I going to have a baby when I'm a virgin? Like, this isn't giving a child to an old couple. This is giving a child to someone who's never had the sexual relationship that would result in a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so she asked, how will this be? And Gabriel, he says that, and she doesn't laugh. I think that's interesting.
Mhm.
She doesn't laugh about this. But Gabriel says that the Holy Spirit will come upon you. The power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son. And this is the 6th month with her who is called barren. For nothing will be impossible with God. So the question that Yahweh asked in Genesis 18:14, is anything too hard for Yahweh, is answered in Luke chapter 1. Nothing will be impossible for God. And so the birth of Isaac that's just a foretaste of something
Mm-hmm.
even more impossible,
Mm-hmm.
right? More difficult. But still, for God, nothing is impossible for God.
Mm-hmm.
He can bring into existence things that didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
He can bring life from the dead. And if he can do that, if he can give a child to a virgin, what else can he do?
Mm-hmm.
As he sends his son into the world, who dies for the sins of his people and is raised from the dead. What else? What else can God do? What else will God delight to do for the delight of his people? He'll forgive their sins. He reconciles himself to his people. He will cause them to persevere to the very end. He will raise them on the last day. He'll glorify them and give them everything along with Christ because he delights in us.
Yeah.
And he delights to show his power so that in the demonstration of his wondrous works, we also would delight.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a stingy God. This is not a distant, cold God. This is a God who when we say he loves his people, he loves them, and we have to be careful because God doesn't have affections like we do. But he loves us not in an abstract way. He loves us.
But
if we can say he has affection towards us, we know what that means, even though it's God is different from us. But he has a love for us. He has a delight in us.
But what's also interesting is that in Christ, he is a truly man.
Yeah.
And he delights like we delight.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like I imagine Jesus with the bros.
Yeah.
They're eating, sitting around the fire,
Yeah.
joking, laughing, fellowshipping.
Yeah.
And then it was all taken away. You know, they went through that low point when he was in the grave for 3 days. But afterward, he's back.
Yeah.
And they're back on the shore, and he's making fish. Can you imagine the delight?
He's with them, and he delights in them, and he delights to show them his power so that they can also be happy.
Yeah. Amazing.
What is it? God is most glorified when we're most satisfied in him. Is that what Piper says?
That's his driving thesis of his whole ministry.
Yeah.
There really is something to that.
Yeah.
You know, because Ecclesiastes is a good entry point to talking with people that are not Christians, and even Christians that can get down when they get sidetracked and consumed with the things of the world, to say, look, you will never have real joy and satisfaction until it's found in delighting in God.
Mm-hmm.
God delights in you. Yeah. You delight in him.
Right.
And he'll be most glorified when you are delighting in him more than anything else in the world.
Right. Yeah. Now, there is a word of caution here. Is anything too hard for Yahweh? Because we don't want to take this verse and just apply it to everything as if God is going to do whatever we want. Is would it be too hard for God to cure cancer? Of course not. Is it too hard for God to save, the most impossibly far away person? No. Finances, any kind of difficulty that you find yourself in, is it too hard for God? No. But does that mean he's going to? Also no. This is related to his covenant promises. Right? God will keep all of his promises. Yeah. And that actually helps, I think, encourage us when we go through those difficult times. Because when we go through those difficult times and we hit that low point and we feel the depression or anxiety or fear, we can be encouraged. This isn't stopping God from fulfilling his promises. No, maybe I have to go through this. Maybe the cancer will kill me. But that's not going to keep God from keeping his promises, because nothing is too hard for God. And he has promised that he's going to conform us into the image of Christ, and that we're going to be glorified along with Christ. And God uses difficulties and hardships and sorrows and sickness and poverty and even death to fulfill those purposes. And again, that's so when we go through that, I mean, imagine getting sick with something incurable, and you go through that long period of dying, and you die, and you wake up, and the first thing you see is Christ. You're not even going to remember the sickness because of the delight. It's going to be like a dream.
This is a momentary light affliction, compared to the eternal weight of glory.
And God delights to do it this way, because it will amplify our own joy.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we don't pray those big prayers, because there's nothing too hard for God.
Yeah.
You can pray the big prayers. I think so often our prayers, and I mean, this is confession of myself. We often pray just little prayers. We need to be reminded of verse 14. There's nothing too hard. There's nothing too wonderful for God.
Mm-hmm.
And that should give us encouragement to pray wild prayers,
Mm-hmm.
like prayers that this seems like the most impossible thing, but it's not impossible for God.
Mm-hmm.
God could do this. And James chastises us in James chapter 4, and he says, the reason you don't have is that you don't ask. Jesus gives a promise. If we ask, we'll receive.
Mm-hmm.
But what do? We don't ask.
You're right.
Your kids ever complain about anything? You're like, you didn't even ask me for that.
Yeah.
You didn't even ask.
Yeah.
You just assumed that I would say no, and so you didn't even ask. We do it with God.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't. There's nothing too difficult for God.
Mm-hmm.
So pray big prayers, and then trust that we'll get to this next week, that everything God does is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. It's just. And he delights in his covenant people, and he delights to show his power in his promises, and those promises will be fulfilled.
Mm.
And when everything is accomplished, when everything is done on the last day, we'll be filled with nothing but joy over what God's done. And that's what he wants. He wants us to rejoice.
It's very good. Yeah. And so it ends with it's abrupt.
It's abrupt, yeah.
But you said that's kind of the point. You believe the word of Yahweh's laughed at.
Well,
he says, no, you did laugh.
Yeah, it's kind of like the end of Jonah, right?
You're right.
How Jonah ends.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't I have compassion on all these people?
Mm-hmm.
And that just ends.
Right.
Right. And it functions, I think, in a literary way to ask us, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to laugh? Are you going to laugh in unbelief at what God has promised to do?
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Moses is writing this to Israel sometime while they're in the wilderness. It looks like an impossible situation. Are you going to laugh when God says, I'm going to bring you into the promised land? I'm going to drive out all the Canaanites, including the giants, and I'm going to give you their houses and their fields, and you're going to rejoice in this land that's flowing with milk and honey. It seems impossible. I'm going to do it. Are you going to laugh? Are you going to laugh at me when I tell you that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've experienced that when I had the thought. I've shared the gospel with people on numerous occasions. I've had them laugh, and they're not so much even laughing at me; they're laughing at the idea of a future resurrection. Like that's like they understand. They've heard so much about Christ was crucified. They know the story of him. But you get to the personal resurrection of the dead. They're like they laugh. It's the laughter of unbelief.
Yeah.
So stuck in
incredulous.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is anything too hard for God?
Right.
No. If he brought us into existence, he certainly can raise us from the dead.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so abrupt.
Right.
It's supposed to be jarring.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to say, she laughed. She laughed at God. And then he calls her out and she lies about it.
Yeah.
Out of fear, which that's what fear does. It drives you to do all kinds of weird things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to say, we're supposed to laugh at Sarah, and then we're supposed to be like, wait a second. How many times do I laugh at the promises of God? How many times do I not believe?
Mm.
We're supposed to see ourselves in Sarah, I think.
Yeah.
But what does God do? He doesn't. He chastises her. He doesn't let her off the hook because she needs to repent. He's drawing her to faith.
Mm-hmm. You brought out that this
and it works. It works in Hebrews 11. She is called someone of faith, a woman of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So it works. So what God does, there's nothing too impossible for God, right?
Right.
So he's successful.
Mm-hmm.
She has to she has to believe. She has to repent of her unbelief, and she needs to believe the promises. But we don't see God saying, you know what, I've changed my mind. You know, there is already Ishmael, so I'm going to transfer.
Right. Right.
Here is a patient, gracious God. She's weak in her faith here. Can't be too hard on her. I mean, she is 89 years old. I mean, if you heard it, you probably would laugh also.
Yeah.
Right. But what do we see God do? He just keeps showing grace.
That's
And
good.
he'll do the same for us.
Yeah. Very good. Good sermon. Encourage you to go listen to it. Next week, we're getting the second part. Two more truths.
Two more truths.
What are the truths for a preview?
I don't know exactly how I'm going to word it, but the judge of all the earth will do what's right. So we can trust that God is good. But also we see Abraham. If you were standing there talking to Abraham, you'd probably be like, get on with it.
Yeah.
Like, Abraham, you're trying my patience. What do we see God do? He listens to Abraham, and we can be encouraged that God listens to our pleas also.
Very good. I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job with Genesis. So thanks, George. I appreciate it. Hopefully you have enjoyed this podcast, but not just that. It's helped you to grow in your knowledge, but not just that. Hopefully this has helped you to delight in God, the God who delights in his people. That's our hope and our joy, is that by delighting in him, you could be more conformed into the image of Christ, who is the ultimate man who delighted. And so we want to be like him. Thanks for joining us today. If this is helpful to you, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you guys next time. Till then, bye-bye.